Hello, hello. My name is Jones, and today we are going to look at therapeutic relationships, and also we will look at the counseling process. These are topics that we are covering in psychosocial counseling, okay, and we are going to break down the counseling process, okay, we're going to break down into the three-stage counseling process that was proposed by Gerard Egan. Okay, so we'll look at the steps that are involved in each and every scenario. Okay, according to Gerard Egan. Okay, so we are appreciating therapeutic relationship, which is very, very important in establishing a rapport whenever we are dealing with the client. So one notable counselor or psychosocial counselor is Rogers, who tries to describe a therapeutic relationship as a process in which there is an interpersonal environment that is likely to facilitate self-actualization and personal growth. Okay, so let's just look at therapeutic relationship in terms of counseling, that we have a counselor and we have a counselee, okay, within the environment where we facilitate self-actualization within the person that is being counseled, so that after the counseling interaction, this individual is going to have some personal growth in problem solving, considering the problem that they were looking at. So Rogers has written a lot of information about counseling, and I picked on this description of therapeutic relationship because it relates to our topic of psychosocial counseling. So to characterize what necessarily Rogers proposes, we can say we have two persons, okay, and these two persons have come in a psychological contact. Okay, so we have two persons, that is the person that is being counseled, okay, and the counselor. So they have come within the same environment, okay, in order for the person that is being counseled to achieve some self-actualization. And if counseling is successful, there will be some personal growth and a different approach in solving such a problem. So in therapeutic relationship, okay, we have two persons that come into contact. Okay, the first, okay, that is being the client, and then this client is in a state of incongruity. Whilst this client is also considered to be vulnerable and also anxious. Then the counselor here is congruent or integrated within this relationship, where they are trying to achieve the goals that are needed for a successful counseling. So counselor experience and conditional positive regard for the clients, and also the counselor who is going to feel an empathetic understanding of the client's internal frame of reference and attempts to communicate this to him or her. The counselor achieves communication to the client of his empathetic understanding and unconditional positive regard to a minimum extent possible. So when we are looking at therapeutic relationship, Rogers necessarily looks at the process as being an interpersonal environment. Okay, so in this interpersonal environment, the person that is being counseled, okay, is going to feel some psychological contact with the counselor. Okay, and this client will also have a state of incongruity, and also the client is going to be vulnerable or anxious, okay, to what is to be achieved, okay, within this counseling. Then the other person who is the counselor is congruent and integrated within this relationship, and also may experience unconditional positive regard for the client. So the counselor within this therapeutic relationship is going to be empathetic in understanding the internal frame reference, and that will attempt to communicate to the client in the most appropriate manner. So the counselor will achieve the best of communication by showing empathy and understanding, and also showing a lot of regard to the client's concern. Okay, so Rogers suggests that if a counselor recognizes and observes this process of therapeutic relationship, okay, if the counselor recognizes and observes this process, therapy will progress in 3 stages. So in the first, the clients will express predominantly negative feelings towards themselves, okay, the world, and the future. So according to Rogers, when the client comes, okay, the counselor will recognize and observe, okay, this process or this therapy progress in these stages, or there are different windows, okay, of which, according to Rogers, there are 3 windows in which the counselor can view this therapeutic relationship. So the 3 windows, we have the first stage, okay, we have the second stage, and we have the third stage, or the final stage. So in the first stage, when the client has come for counseling, they will predominantly give the negative feelings that have brought them to the hospital, that have brought them for counseling. Okay, so as they express this, they will have a lot of negativities about themselves. Okay, they will have a lot of negativities about the world, and also a lot of negativity about the future. So this is important, because the client, at this point, within this phase, you're getting, as a counselor, you're getting to know the patient, and the patient is giving you more information so that you understand the issue that needs to be sorted within the counseling relationship, or within the therapeutic counseling relationship. So in the second stage, okay, in the second stage, the counselor will feel and express some emotions towards the story that has been put forward, and the client is going to also feel some glimmers of hope, knowing that they have found someone that they can necessarily talk to, and he has given them the necessary attention. Okay, so this will make the client feel some signs of acceptance, and also to help them gain insight more about their problem, as they try to find the right ways to express themselves before the counselor. Okay, so in the second stage, it will in the second stage, the client begin to feel and express some glimmers of hope, and they will show some beginning of signs of acceptance, okay, and gain insight, or gain more insight about their problem through the choice of words that they come up with. Okay, then in the final stage, this will show positive feelings and care for others. So they develop more self-confidence and start to make plans for the future. That is the client. And for the counselor, this is the period to terminate the therapy, okay, or the help that is being rendered, because the client would have reached the capacity of self-actualization. Okay, so the client can now gradually internalize these new methods or behavior that that have been adopted from a counseling session. So in Roger's suggestion, okay, therapeutic relationship is in 3 phases. So there is the first stage, which we can look necessarily at as an introduction phase. Okay, in this first phase, which is more of an introduction phase, the client predominantly expresses himself and will say all the negative things about the things that are stressing them. And then in the second phase, which is more of a working phase, okay, where the counselor might have given some kind of feedback, might have asked some probing questions, okay, then here in the second phase, the client might begin to have some hope because of the attention that they have received, and also may start having some kind of acceptance, okay, because they would have gained more insight about the problem, okay, that they are facing, based on the information that the counselor will ask or the information that the counselor will give. Then the third stage, which is the termination stage. Okay, so the third stage, okay, Rogers just calls them first stage, second stage, and third stage. So third stage is more of termination stage. So in the termination stage, here you would have given the client all the necessary information, and the client would have gained self-actualization. Okay, so in the termination phase, you are now ending the client-counselor relationship. Okay, so that the client now can work independently. Okay, so Rogers had a student by the name of Gerald Egan. Okay, so Gerald Egan, based on his teacher, a proposal of these stages of first, second, and third stage, okay, of which we have tried to refine to be first stage being introductory phase, okay, where the client necessarily gives more information and all the negativities about the issue. Then second stage, which is more like the working stage, where the client necessarily try to gain some hope because of the questions and the deeper understanding that they now have about the question, okay, because of also the information that the counselor might have given and the questions that the counselor might have posed, okay, so that the client can also look at the different angle concerning their problem. Then the third stage, which is more like the termination stage, okay, the termination stage where the client predominantly achieves self-actualization and is free to operate independently. So that is the Rogers proposal over the stages of therapeutic relationship. So Gerald Egan came up with the counseling process. Okay, came up with 3 stages of the counseling process. Okay, when you're saying the counseling process, it is like a map that helps counselors know what to do as they interact with the client at any given moment. It also aids to orient the counselor so that he or she can understand their position with the client and the most helpful intervention that can be given. Okay, so the 3-stage action-oriented counseling process developed by Rogers' student, that is Gerald Egan, is very, very helpful in knowing the process that is involved in counseling. So according to Gerald Egan's model, okay, which is known as the 3-stage counseling process, okay, there is stage 1, which is known as current scenario, okay, and then there is stage 2, okay, which is known as the preferred scenario, and then there is the stage 3, which is known as the strategy. Okay, so according to Gerard's model or counseling process, okay, we have these stages. So the current, that is here we are looking in Gerard's model, there is stage 1 current scenario, meaning the way the situation is, okay, that is the point A. Then the second stage, according to Gerard, okay, counseling process is preferred scenario. So you are at point A, and then the preferred scenario is the point B. Okay, at A, there are certain things that you are lacking, there are certain needs that you need to satisfy. So then you want to be at point B. So point B is the way you want things to be. Okay, then point C, and it's necessarily strategies, okay, or strategic plan. So this is strategic plan within the counseling process, is the one that will help you now to achieve self-actualization. Okay, just to add more detail to these stages, when you're looking at current scenario, here the counselor facilitates storytelling. Okay, that is in the current scenario. And then in the preferred scenario, counselor facilitates the consideration of options. Then in stage 3, which is strategy, the counselor facilitates the development of an action plan. Okay, so let's go a little bit in detail, okay, to understand all the stages. So according to Gerard Egan's model, or the counseling process or the 3-stage counseling process, when we are looking at current scenario, okay, here we are looking at the beginning stage of counseling process. Counselors help clients tell their stories as clearly as possible. Counselors cannot save their client if the latter fail to develop an understanding of the difficulties and possibilities of their lives. Clients need to tell their stories, they need to review and discuss the problems. While some clients are verbal, others may be almost mute. Some easily review everything that bothers them. Others are quite reluctant to do so. So it's important that the counselor necessarily allows the patient to explain the current scenario. As counselors, we also need skills to help clients discuss their problems and provide support to them. The outcome of this step is a frank discussion of the facts of the case. We need to tell the story, whether it comes out all at once or at the beginning of the counseling process, or only in bits or pieces over the entire process. To do this, counselors must establish effective relationship with their clients. Okay, so some of the steps that can be involved in current scenario may be the steps of counselor welcoming the client. He or she explains about him or herself. Okay, so you introduce yourself, say my name is ABC, and that will necessarily make the client feel at home and feel the warmth of the welcome. So the counselor will explain that everything that is being discussed will be kept in confidentiality. This will encourage the client to come out on everything that they need to say or they need to express themselves on. Okay, and in providing this confidentiality, there should be a private room with no disturbances at all, as this will promote the clients to necessarily share all that they want to share. The counselor will use positive attitudes and skills to help the client explain his or her problem. He or she will help the client make sense of it and explore it in detail and express all their feelings that they have about it. Okay, so that is in the step of current scenario. Okay, in the step of current scenario, we make the environment conducive for the client to come out. So the counselor will find out what the person already knows about the problem by asking open-ended questions. He or she may give or correct information that the client might have left out. Okay, so this is involved in the steps of current scenario. And then the other step that can be taken within the current scenario is that the counselor can assist the client analyze the problem. The client should establish the cause of the problem, okay, and the effect on their relationship. Okay, that is, identify a problem and the problem. Okay, identify the problem and also see how the problem can be tackled. So the counselor, counselee, or the counselor and the client relationship will facilitate that the client starts thinking towards effective strategy of dealing with their problem. Okay, so all in all, with these steps in the current scenario, okay, both counselor and the client will have adequate understanding of the problem and its severity, so that they can start deliberating and setting strategies to deal with it. The counselor will have provided all necessary information at this stage of the process. Okay, so that is in the stage of current scenario. Okay, so we are discussing the three-stage counseling process proposed by Gerald Egan. Okay, it is all the three-stage counseling process is also known as the Gerald Egan model. So from stage 1 we have stage 2, which is the preferred scenario, or scenario B. Okay, from dealing with scenario A, now the scenario B is the preferred scenario. Here the counselor facilitates the consideration of options. So at this stage of counseling, the counselor helps the client identify what he or she wants in terms of goals and objectives based on understanding the problem. Once clients understand it, they need support in determining options to deal with the problem that they have. Stage 2 takes care of the preferred situation. The preferred situation provides answers to questions like, what do you want, or what would things look like if they were better. Okay, so this stage deals with the outcomes, results, and what the client wants. The counselor guides him or her in exploring, okay, all options or alternatives to cope with the problem or achieve the preferred situation. Okay, so in stage 2 there can also be some steps that can be involved within this preferred scenario. So the steps involved may include defining the problem, okay, asking open-ended questions, and guiding the person to consider and investigate carefully implications and likely outcomes. So in step 2, preferred scenario, okay, so some of the steps that can be involved is defining the problem, as earlier stated. So in defining the problem, you can discuss the most urgent problem, that is which the client wants to tackle, or the problem he or she can do something about, that is at present. Okay, so if someone has many problems, he or she may find it helpful to solve first one problem, okay, and then go on to solve the other. In this way, the client is going to gain confidence to deal with the other problems, and they select each and every problem that they can sort out and finish sorting the problems that are stressing them and bringing them for counseling. Okay, so the other steps for preferred scenario is that of asking open-ended questions. So what are the things you think you can do? So this is an open-ended question because the client is going to give you varied answers. Okay, you can ask what would happen if, or what are your feelings about, and then you can state anything there so that the client can give you some answers. So these questions are for exploring fully all possible ways to resolve the problem. Okay, the other step that can be taken within the preferred scenario is that of guiding the person to consider and investigate carefully all implications and outcome for each option. So in stage 3 for preferred scenario, we can provide a lot of information that the client may need. Okay, so for preferred scenario, after completing this stage, the counselor would have helped the person think of ways of coping with his or her problem. The counselor will have aided the person choose the option with a higher likelihood of success by exploring the implications, likely outcomes, advantages, disadvantages, and disadvantages, and also other pros and cons concerning the decisions that the decision that they want to make. The person will have chosen the course of action within this stage of preferred scenario as they try to sort out a problem based on each and every priority. So here the person would have chosen some kind of course of action, okay, that might need to be implemented. So in stage 3, here is strategy, okay, strategy of implementing some of the planned activities. So stage 3 here, counselor facilitates the development of an action plan, putting all the activities that you might have identified within the preferred scenario, you put them in an action plan. So this counseling stage requires figuring out what to do first, second, and so on, to ensure the implementation and accomplishment of selected line of action. The client knows what he or she wants to accomplish and where to go, but still needs assistance in determining how to get there. This stage deals with activities and ways of achieving results. So the counselor here supports the client to translate strategies into action. Some of the steps that can be done within this strategy include defining the exact problem, asking open-ended questions, and also summarizing the plan. Okay, so the steps in this strategy are that when you define the exact problem that you are going to work on, okay, you are going to have a course of action that the client can cope with and also will help the client to resolve the problem. Okay, so in this step, okay, the steps of strategy is that of asking open-ended question. This will help the person consider how he or she might act. Okay, like what do you think is the best thing to do? So the client will necessarily come up with that best thing that they feel can be done. Or what will you do now? Okay, in case of ABC. So the client necessarily will look at the other available option. Okay, so here in these steps within strategy, here the client also will summarize the plan made by the client. Okay, here the will summarize the plan made by the client. This is to encourage him or her to return and discuss how it worked out. Okay, so you can also arrange another appointment or refer where necessary. Okay, so there are some times when the client necessarily comes for counseling, there might be need for clients to come also at a later date so that you can review whether the strategy necessarily worked. So the basic counseling process, forms the basis of all our counseling intervention, and it is a problem-solving approach which we apply to various counseling situations for HIV infection and diseases. So we really need to appreciate this three-stage counseling process that was proposed by Gerard Egan. Okay, and it's credited to him by and because it's also known as the Gerard Egan model. Okay, so to try further and simplify or understand these stages, it is important to know that we have stage 1, okay, where we facilitate storytelling. Here, the attitude should be that of caring, confidentiality, respect, and acceptance of the person. Okay, and some of the skills that, as a counselor, that you might need to apply is that of active listening, that of asking probing questions, answering questions, and also showing empathy. Okay, then when we talk about stage 2, it should be that of facilitating consideration of options, coming up with options or option stage. Here, some of the attitudes as a counselor that you can show is that of empathy, care, respect, acceptance of the person, and also confidentiality. Then the skills that you are required necessarily to express during this stage is that of empathy, active listening, asking open-ended and probing questions, okay, active listening, okay, also answering some questions and also answering some questions that the clients may have. Then when we talk about stage 3 is more about facilitating development of a plan. So here the attitude that the counselor can show is that of care, confidentiality, respect, and acceptance of the person, of that person's plan. Okay, and then the skill that the counselor can show is that of asking probing questions, answering questions, and also showing him empathy or challenge clients to certain things that may not necessarily be ideal, so that all clarity is made. Okay, so today we are looking at therapeutic relationship and the three-stage counseling process. Okay, so when you are trying to remember something about the therapeutic relationship and the three-stage model, this is more of a scenario of what the teacher tries to propose as a therapeutic relationship, and also what the student tries to propose as a counseling process. Okay, so you can from what our discussion, you can see that there are some similarities in the counseling process and the therapeutic relationship. Okay, so the three-stage counseling process was proposed by the students to lodgers, so that's why we see some similarities in this. But Gerard Egan necessarily looks at the stages, okay, of counseling, of which when the client comes with the scenario A, and then they want to have a scenario B, okay, which they cannot necessarily have on their own. Then there's a scenario C, or the stage 3, where you need to develop a plan, okay, or working plan. Okay, so according to Rogers, him in therapeutic relationship, there is the first stage, there is the second stage, and there is the third stage. Okay, to simply put this, the first stage is more like an introductory stage where clients give more information in this therapeutic relationship. And then the second stage, it's like a working phase, okay, where here you try to look at propose many options that necessarily may help with the situation at hand in second stage. So there are certain feelings that the clients may have that might need to be taken care of. And then the third stage, okay, in this therapeutic relationship is where now the client might have gained self confidence, and the client needs to be independent because now they can solve their problem. So it is stage 3 is more of termination, okay, termination phase. Then the counseling process necessarily happens. What happens during counseling? That is from current scenario, preferred scenario, up to strategy. So from me, I'm saying thank you very much, and keep studying.